Well, looks like Suletta's harem continues to increase in size. I'm not sure what they're doing here, but why not? I don't really mind. It's not as if we don't have Gundam shows where it seems like multiple people like the main character, but fantastic episode. I think I'm more and more falling in love with Suletta as a character and not just being a Moe character, because I've already kind of seen quite a bit online of people being very unsure about how they feel about Suletta as a main character versus any other Gundam show. I think it's really good because I'm seeing that there's some people being introduced into the series because they like Suletta and she's more into their flavor of a main protagonist. But at the same time, I think it's more of one of those things of, I guess people have expectations for having the angsty boy that just constantly whines and gets angry about things versus a girl that's a country bumpkin and very timid, very afraid of everybody, but at the same time kind of jumping into action, almost like a switch has been flipped. But I think it works out for me. I really am enjoying Suletta as something more than just, oh my gosh, she's cute and she's goofy. It really does feel like they're playing in heavily on the aspect of her being very unsure of herself, very timid, very unable to speak to people. At the same time, having those moments where it's showing me that there's some good writing in there. And I think that was evident the moment that they had this whole duel meeting. Yes, she does raise her voice to kind of try to defend Guel. But at the same time, after the meeting itself, I got a picture that it really feels like Suletta is using this whole motto that her mother gave her, this thing that she looks up to, this idea of, flee, you gain one thing, but go forward and you gain two things. It's almost like she's using that as like an icebreaker. Like she's trying really hard to speak to people. And so the first thing that comes to mind is, well, this cool phrase, let me talk about this. Let me tell him about this thing and how it applies to the situation that we just dealt with. Basically her defending him. And it was really cute. Like I said, it feels like she's really pushing herself. Okay, let me talk about this. Then the moment she gets kind of comfortable talking to Guel, he just walks away. Like it always breaks. That was technically, we've seen a little bit of it with Suletta talking to Nika as well. Nika coming in very, very excited about her Gundam, wanting to talk about it. How does it function, these things? And she's like, oh, well, this is what's going on with it. And then unfortunately that conversation gets cut short too. Every time it feels like Suletta gets comfortable talking to somebody, it's like she gets dragged to the next thing. Like she never gets a chance to really breathe with a situation. So it's kind of playing into it. And I think it's doing well to slowly chip away at her personality of being very timid, getting more comfortable with people, but at the same time, she's never let to kind of flourish. Like she keeps getting cut off. But no, cool episode. I really appreciate the fact that we just kind of got it out of the way. Like we're not going to let this whole who is Prospera thing sit. Like we're just like, nope, it's mom. Like there's no confusion here. It's mom. Here's, Suletta talking to mom. She's got brown hair. And then sure enough, you see the thing sitting on the table next to her. They're not going to sit here and drag this out. They are being very forward with the fact that this is her mom. But no, I like the stuff they did with Guel this episode. Really did kind of change him as a character. I kind of was already seeing it with the last episode. Him kind of changing quite a bit based on the fact that him losing the duel. It really did feel like he was trying to correct some things. He sent his little thugs out to fix things at Mjorn's place. But at the same time, it felt like in this episode, it was all about him and his relationship with his father and what he thinks of himself because they don't want to lose. Vim, his father, does not want to lose this duel. So he decides to upgrade his mobile suit or let him use this other mobile suit that is completely AI. Well, not completely, but mostly controlled via AI. So everything that he does in the battlefield, it's not his control. Like at some point, he's just kind of sitting there and then the mobile suit's fighting. And I got a kick out of it because at some point it starts to, disperse this heat reduction rain stuff. And he immediately goes, oh, the tides have turned, and he's still sitting there not touching the controls. It's like, it was almost like, I almost want him to catch himself, like realizing like, the tides turned, yes, kind of like realizing, because he says at some point, is my will not matter? Like, am I not needed? It's literally what his father was telling him. You just sit in that cockpit and we'll handle the rest. I'll make sure this wins. Thankfully, it had this moment at the very end where he finally overrides it and says, no, I'm the one at control here. This is my fight. And he rushes out there. It was really cool. It was, yes, predictable, but at the same time, it was well done. They pulled it off very well. And I think that it kind of restored my faith in Guel. I kind of assumed that he was going to become a positive character. Like I said, the signs were there the last episode. This is basically him saying, I'm not under my father's control. Like, I'm going to do what I want to do. And I thought it was a really fantastic growth point for him And yes, technically at the very end, having him propose to Suletta, guess he's going to be around for a while. Guess we're going to have that. But again, I guess that plays into, I think, what a lot of people are echoing as a theory, and I kind of felt it as well in the early episodes. This is going to be a fight between the children and the parents. The old generation, the new generation, and despite the fact that the parents are puppeteering over them, saying, you need to do this is your life, this is what you're born to do, you're going to get married to this person, you're going to get control of this, basically using them as chess pieces for their own gain. This is where we're kind of seeing they're making bonds. Ellen likes Suletta. He doesn't know why, but he's interested in her, so he's following her around, trying to look into her. Mjolnir obviously is needing to use Suletta because the two of them have a bond and a mutual gain between the two of them. And now you have Gwil coming in, who was once an adversary of them based on his father. Now he's interested in Suletta. Suletta was the only one that's seen that he had strength. His father's angry at him, obviously. His father used him. His father controlled him, controlled his mobile suit, took control away from him, had no faith in his son at all. But after the battle, what does Suletta say? I have to apologize. I underestimated you. You're actually really strong. And that's all he needed to hear. Everybody else is saying he's not strong enough. We're going to make the thing do what you need to do. Just sit in the cockpit. She was the one acknowledging that he was strong. And he liked that. Somebody finally acknowledged me for what I could do. Yes, the little cheesy idea that he jumped straight to marriage, but at the same time, that's what he's seen. Somebody that would recognize him. That's all he wanted. And yes, you can argue that him jumping to marriage is mainly the idea that he probably had no care for Mjolnir. Like, he probably didn't love Mjolnir, but he's been kind of conditioned that he's going to marry Mjolnir, so the idea of him marrying somebody else makes perfect sense. We could end up finding out that, well, there's more to him than that. He might just not just be the fact that, oh, she said I'm strong, I want to marry you. It could be more in the idea that, one, he acknowledged something in her, he's seen that she acknowledged him as a person and as a warrior, whereas nobody else really did. He's just a tool. But additionally, if I marry Suletta, somebody that acknowledged me for who I am, maybe I won't have to marry Mjolnir. Maybe it's him sticking it to his father. So there might be more aspects to the story than just cheesy marriage. But no, I completely skip it, but I did like the scene where they were setting up the duel itself. Obviously, Gwil still, keeping the same one. You're going to leave, which kind of plays into what the council wanted. But additionally, Suletta, all she wants is just apologize. But I like that whole scene because you had, I think it was Cecilia, I think it was her. She was kind of making jokes about the fact that, oh, well, you used your father's power to make sure to get rid of the duel. Don't do it again. Don't want to see your stocks go down any further. But it was really cool. Like I said, Suletta really speaking up and saying, that's not fair. He's not running. You should respect that. We also got to learn that Suletta has like this list of things that she wants to do in the school, and some of them are ruined by the fact that she's married. She wants to go on a date. She wants to make friends. She wants to use nicknames with friends. Wants to get contact information from somebody on her phone, which Ellen kind of helped her with that. Really cute stuff. It does look like it's starting to really kind of lay into Sadiq already. Sadiq with his father is already kind of looking into specifically Prospera, but also Suletta. He wants Sadiq personally to go look into Suletta. So we're probably going to have Sadiq confronting Suletta going forward. It was interesting to see that the duels themselves are openly not equal. Like, the duel isn't person versus person. Even though I think the thing that it chimes on when they're starting the duel, like the phrase they say kind of indicates that it's not just a machine, it's the person or something like that, or the 2 or 1 or something like that. But like, Ellen specifically told Mjolnir, like, flat out, not hiding it, the duels aren't fair. The duels are all in what the student patrons dictate. It's up to the supporters themselves on what staff and what mobile suits they use, which makes sense. It's never going to be even because you can apply whatever mecha you want. So if somebody comes in there with like just, I don't know, a regular robot that moves containers or something in the warehouse, it's not going to be even to, yes, Suletta coming in with this Gundam or Gil coming in with his mobile suit. It's never going to be even because they're all going to have different specs on their mobile suits themselves. So to expect that the staff themselves can't manipulate things around them, I guess makes sense. My argument against that would be more in the idea, but you're manipulating the environment to do something it's not normally doing, so it's kind of a stretch. But it's interesting to see that they're openly admitting that. It's not even. It's all in what you have. All in money, basically, in the end. Again, technically, if this is multiple companies running this one college or this one school, and yes, they have duels within it, and each different student has a patron of a company, and the company can supply them with mobile suits, technology they're doing to shed a light on their company and show their worth as a company. It's technically in a sense, what Suetta's doing with this Gundam. Some of the side notes that I make note of, I got a kick out of the fact that when they were dueling, they had like I think Choo-Choo was in there and a couple of them, they were all screaming like, get that space shit, and then everybody's like, wait, but she's not Suetta's not an Earthian, so you're cheering for. I really do feel like they see Suletta is not really a Spacian. Like, she's different. She's from this out in the sticks place. She doesn't act like the other Spacians. So it's almost like she's seen as an ally, similar to Nika confronting her all the time. She kind of sees her as somebody she can confront despite the fact that she is technically a Spacian. And I think as we get more and more into that whole faction divide of Spacians and Earthians, Suetta's going to be kind of that bridge. Again, bringing Gwell, bringing Ellen, bringing Mjorin, bringing Nika, bringing all these different origin people together. Again, she's the one that's going to break the divide that was created by their parents. And, again, break the puppetry they're doing. I did get a kick out of after Nika met with Suletta. He had Gil come up and he's like, we're going to duel again. And she's like, oh, I'm dueling you? Oh, great. That's great. Whew. Well, I already beat you, so I'm not scared anymore. I also noted that when they had all the messages coming in to Suletta, when she cleared them all to only contacts, Ellen's was remaining, and it said congratulations, but that was kind of this guy that doesn't seem like he has much emotions congratulated her. Also, in the meeting between Vim and Prospera, we did find out that the reason why Vim spoke up at the meeting was because she was blackmailing. She had information that he tried to assassinate Delling. So it wasn't what I was thinking it would be, that he would see that there is a benefit to seeing the technology. At any rate, great episode as always. Looking forward to the next episode. Hope you guys enjoyed my impressions of episode 3 of Mobile Suit Gundam, The Witch from Mercury. If you like this video, make sure to hit that like button down below. Comment, let me know what's thought of the episode. Additionally, if you're new to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you get all my content. I do news, reviews, top lists, first impression. If it's anime, it's pretty much here. Additionally, if you want to support the channel more, I'd greatly appreciate it if you consider support us on Patreon. Our tips link and our super thanks button down below. I greatly appreciate everybody that considers, and y'all take care.